Welcome to A1R Psychic Radio. You're here on Moonstruck TV with Amanda Hall, Psychic, all the way from the Gold Coast. What an interesting week it's been around the world as everybody sort of starts to get ready for the Climate Change Summit in Scotland in a couple of weeks. And you start to see all the political leaders around the world all sort of coming out there with their marketing campaigns of telling us how brilliant they are and what they're going to do and what they're not going to do when they go to the Climate Change Summit. Let's hope that maybe there's a shred of truth in there somewhere, that they really will sort of sit down and nut out some policies for the planet, because I do think this is really, really important. It's one of the things that I think we can't ignore anymore, that we have to get on board and say the planet is in trouble. Then we are responsible for that, and we are responsible to find solutions and answers to make changes. So anyway, on with the Simply Tarot card of the week. And for those of you viewers that are new to my show, this is a set of tarot cards that I designed back in 2004, and we've been worldwide since then. We've sold over 1 million sets worldwide based on the Rider-Waite tarot cards, which are the most popular deck in the world. So I either feature a Simply Tarot card of the week or the Secrets of Tarot card, which is exactly the same card, but it's got a more oldie worldy design. This is probably my favourite deck because it was our first deck. So this week the card is the Nine of Cups. So it's improvements underway. We need to be aware that we could be feeling a little bit smug or a little bit pleased with ourselves. Now, I know that this is a card for each and every one of us, and I know most of our viewers around the world will be saying, hallelujah, we've got some improvements underway. I don't know that any of us are feeling a little bit smug. I'd put the smug hat on clearly on the politicians of the world, because they're the ones that always look smug and pleased with themselves. For us mere mortals, just to have some improvements underway, whether that means restrictions are easing in your area and you can finally start to feel that you're coming out of this COVID fog, that you can start to see the light at the end of the tunnel, that you've got more opportunities to get out and about and catch up with family and friends and loved ones and bring your life back into some sort of normal way after we've come through this COVID thing. It seems like it's been a very, very long time. But let me assure you, in the worldwide areas of pandemics, we actually aren't that far into it. I was watching something last night in international CNN news where the average length of time for a pandemic is 5 years. So if you look at it in that terms, we've only been a little bit over 18 months. So no wonder we can start to sort of feel a little bit of improvement underway as the world starts to vaccinate and we start to get some drugs that can combat this illness, and we can start to feel that maybe we can get some normalcy back in our lives again. Wouldn't that be a lovely thing, to be able to sort of all gather around for the celebrations and the holidays that are coming up as we head towards the end of the year? Here in Australia, we don't celebrate Thanksgiving, and I think it's a shame that we don't. I think we need a national holiday like that, or a time to all gather together to be thankful for what we've all been able to achieve, whether that's a very small thing or whether it's a major thing or whether it's looking at what the nation can achieve or the country can achieve. I think we all need to be more thankful for the things that we've been able to achieve. Might sort of write to our local politicians and see if we can put that on the agenda, give them something different to think about. So we're going to head into the astrology section now. This has become sort of a major part of what I talk about each week on the show since COVID, because we've had so many things that have been going on. I've had so many messages in my inbox from people saying, I really enjoy this part of the show, Amanda. It gives me hope. It gives me an opportunity to sort of catch my breath and say, well, I'm not the only one that's experiencing what you're talking about. And it makes us all sort of feel, in a sense, that we are all connected. We are all brothers and sisters of the world. And it doesn't matter what part of the world that we're in. We all experience very similar feelings and emotions and trials and tribulations in life. So this week I'm pleased to sort of talk about the Mercury retrograde that we've been experiencing for the last few weeks will be coming to an end. It's coming to an end on October 18. So there's only 6 days to go. So not necessarily will we say that Mercury's energy going retrograde is completely kaput, but we'll certainly start to feel things sort of ease off a little bit. Now, when we have a Mercury retrograde, it is always the most difficult time to get people to listen to us. They forget to put their listening ears on. if you're trying to implement new systems or trying to get things across the board, it's a really, really tough time, because anything that can go wrong on a communication level, whether it's your cell phone, whether it's your phone, whether it's your laptop, your device, your smart TV, or even just trying to have a conversation with someone, something inevitably can sort of get in the way. This is the time, I think, a lot of those scammers that try and get us to sign up to things or try and drain our bank accounts in some way really sort of flourish, because we're not really paying attention as much as we could be to that phone call that's coming in. I don't know about you, but many of the people that I talk with and work with over the period of a year have been saying to me things like, I don't answer my cell phone anymore unless I recognise the number. I wait for people to leave me a message. And it seems to be the only way that they've been able to combat this barrage of extra phone calls during their working day that they don't want to answer or haven't got the time to answer. And 9 times out of 10, there's some sort of fraudulent call or somebody trying to get you to sign up to something or telling you you've had a motor vehicle accident or something like that, which you haven't. But it does give you a bit of a heart start when someone says that on the phone. So maybe that's the way to handle it, and sort of make that the new normal for you on how you deal with the phone calls that are coming in on a day-to-day basis. So Mercury is in Libra, so it's a time when we can see that sort of people are trying to convince us of things that maybe we don't want. And that's why I brought up the scam phone calls, because normally Mercury in Libra, I'd be saying to you, look, find the truth in the matter, look for the balance in a conversation, sort of try and see it from both sides. But when it's retrograde, it's not so much that it's the exact opposite, but it's sort of asking you to be super, super cautious, particularly of any communications with people that you don't know or are total strangers to you, because they may not be being as upfront and as honest as they should be. So we also have Mercury, the planet of communication that's sitting retrograde at the moment in Libra, is going retrograde, I said, until the 18th of October, is holding hands or conjunct Mars, the planet of action. Now, Mars is the planet that makes us get out of bed of a morning. It sort of says to us, come on, you've got to be a bit decisive. Where's your game plan? Where's your plan of attack? What are we going to do today? We've got a lot to get done. So it's interesting that Mercury is holding hands with Mars, and the fact that we've got so much that's going on around the world with so much unrest and people not happy about this, that and the other. And it doesn't matter where you look. There's protests going on all around the world with people and what they believe is a very personal and very real cause to them. And I'm not going to say that I completely agree with people that are out there rioting and demonstrating in the middle of a pandemic. I mean, common sense should prevail to begin with, that it's a major health issue, even though I believe that, they believe that their issues are very real and very important. Maybe you could find a different way of protesting, maybe start an online petition or something like that, or a Zoom room protest or something like that, instead of putting a lot of people in health danger by gathering in places and no social distancing and very little mask wearing. So, there's lots of things that we can get our angry hat out of the closet for, or our hat of determination. And maybe we should be using that energy to sort of talk to our politicians or write them an email or something and ask them what they're doing about climate change. What are they doing? Something constructive for a change? What else are they going to do to help combat this pandemic that's going on worldwide? What have they done for some of the poorer nations around the world? If they put their hand in their pocket and, found some money to help them vaccinate their population, there's lots of issues we can get our positive angry hat on, or our determination hat on, and write to our politicians over. We also have Mars, the planet of action, is conjunct or hold hands with the planet the Sun, or the luminary the Sun, which is also in Libra, for about another bit over a week. So it's interesting because Mars and the Sun normally, sort of play well together in the sandbox. And I'm not saying they're not playing well together here. What I'm saying is Mars is probably a little bit more on the aggressive, more determined side. Then the Sun is sort of trying to say, let's look at every side of the argument. Let's not rush in like the bull in the china shop. Let's take our time. Let's do it in a more calm way, and we might get better results then. And Mars says, I haven't got time to waste being calm and doing this and that and the other. We've got to get action and we've got to get it yesterday. So it's a little bit of conflict of interest there. But I think overall, I think it's a good combination, because at least Mars is pushing the sun along to say, come on, we haven't got time to waste here. Mercury's sort of, bringing out lots of different angles as far as communication, and not all of them truthful. So there's an awful lot going on in Libra at the moment to try and bring into balance. We also have what's known as one of the luminaries, or one of the Arabian parts, the south, and the moon's south node. Now, this is a karmic part of astrology, but it's also a part that I think is very relevant to each and every one of us, and particularly when one of the moon's nodes is conjunct or holding hands a planet, because it means that it affects each and every one of us. Now, the south node is looking for the easy way out, looking for the path of least resistance. So we've got the moon's south node conjunct or holding hands Venus, the planet of love and affection. Now, there's nothing particularly wrong with that. It's just saying that, Venus is not necessarily on the back foot, but Venus is looking for the easier or the calmer way through the storm, or looking to sort of bring about, any communication with loved ones or tricky issues that we might have to bring up that way, in a way that's going to be a little bit more on the passive side. Now, it's sitting in the fiery sign of Sagittarius. Now, Sagittarius is my sign, so I'm a little bit partial to it, but it is the sign of tremendous truth. And it is the sign that sort of makes us get up out of bed and sort of says, come on, where are we going today? Because it's the half man, half beast is the symbol for Sagittarius, but it's also the higher mind stuff. It's where we look to sort of rise above the day-to-day trivialities, the things that really need our attention. And I put climate change into that. So maybe we've all got to stop being quite so passive and sort of, let our voices be heard that this is unacceptable. We want something done about it. We are passionate about it. And we have the opportunity now to take it to the world stage, as the leaders are starting to meet in a couple of weeks to discuss this and how urgent it is. Maybe we should get on the bandwagon a little bit with that. But on a more personal level, this is the time, if we've been putting off having a tricky conversation with a family member or a loved one or the person that we're in love with, now might be the time to bring it up gently. Don't come in charged or, guns a-blazing. Take it on a very gentle approach. Take it on the approach that, how would you approach this if you were me? Put the onus back on them, that maybe that if they see it, well, how would you approach the problem? I'm not sure how to bring it up with you, because I don't want to just, create an argument. I don't want you to be upset, but this is really bothering me. And I've tried to find a neutral ground way, or a passive way of bringing this up without creating, World War III between us. And maybe sometimes by trying that approach, how would you approach it, sort of takes the sting out of it a little bit, and that we can maybe approach it in a slightly different way. So we also have Neptune, the planet of illusion and delusion, which is back in his own sign of Pisces. He's also retrograde at the moment, will be for a little bit longer now before the end of this year. So Neptune is asking us to really sort of dig deep into our soul and ask our souls and ourselves, what is it that we really feel that maybe we've been deceived on? Is there areas of our lives that maybe need some attention? Are we the ones deceiving ourselves? Are we the ones that are deceiving the people closest to us? Or is it more on a larger scale where big business and governments and things like that are deceiving us? So maybe it's right across the board. Maybe we've found things out about ourselves in this time that we've had plenty of time to contemplate our navel during lockdowns, where we've really had to look at ourselves in a long, hard manner. Maybe we found parts of our personality that really need working on. And maybe we've also found that a lot of old emotions from the past have come to the surface. I know that over the time of COVID, a lot of people have inboxed me and asked me why on earth is parts of their past coming up that's, 10, 20, 30, 40 years old, where they thought they'd dealt with it, let it go, and it was long gone. Why is that coming back into the conscious part of my mind, Amanda? Well, it is partly to do with this Neptune retrograde in Pisces, because Pisces governs things like our emotional health and well-being, our mental health. So if Neptune is retrograde, it means that it's delving into those areas that we've hidden from ourselves very cleverly for such a long period of time, bringing them to light so that we can finally deal with them, look at them and say, okay, this is really not what we need anymore. I've dealt with that issue. I can comfortably let it go, set it free for the very last time, and it no longer needs to be part of my subconscious or unconscious mind. We also still have Jupiter in Aquarius, which is starting to ask us to think outside the square and create opportunities out of different ways of looking at things. And of course, we still have Pluto in Capricorn, which has been there since 2008. So Pluto's role is still to try and transform the world, bring things out from hidden areas. So let's hope Pluto can work his magic when all the world leaders meet for the climate change summit in a couple of weeks. So we're going to talk with Loretta in Pueblo in Colorado in the USA. And I'm sure I pronounced that wrong. Loretta, how are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
Very well, thank you, sweetie. Do you have a question I can answer for you, darling?
Well, I've seen that you kind of do medium work. I lost my son and my mom both last year.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Loretta. What a terrible tragedy to lose two people that were very important to you at, almost at the same time. That must have been really difficult for you to try and pull yourself back from that.
It is.
So I'm taking it that they were two separate situations. They didn't both pass for the same reason.
Yes, they were two separate situations.
Yeah, because that was how they showed it to me, it was two separate things. They weren't linked in that way other than they were both important to you. Can I start with your son? Was that an unexpected situation? Because I've still got question marks around his passing.
Yes, it was completely unexpected. He committed suicide.
Yeah, but it's still sort of, he's still sort of showing me that there's still question marks that you're questioning around why it happened. Look, I don't know that there's ever any easy answer in whatever way we lose a child. I don't think as a parent, I don't know that we can ever fully come back from that. We obviously find a place to put it in our heart and try and get on with living. But with your son, I'm going to say to you, from what he's sharing with me, that was not the result he was going for. I don't think he actually intended to take his life. I'm not saying that he didn't, perform the deed that took his life. I'm saying it wasn't his intention. I feel that it had been yes, there'd been issues there, but I'm not going to say that the issues were that big that you missed something. And that's something that you questioned yourself about. Why didn't I see this coming? What did I miss? He's sharing with me you didn't miss anything because it wasn't necessarily a big red flag that you missed. This was a series of little things that happened. And at the day that he took his life, this was not his intention, but it was like everything spiraled out of control, and before he knew it, he'd gone too far. Now, that's a hard thing to get our head around, that how could somebody be feeling so low or as if their life wasn't worth anything that you would do something that could lead to this. But I just want to reassure you that was never his intention. He didn't do it to hurt you or to pay you back for something or anything like that. It was whatever he was trying to achieve, and I think was numb the pain, he went too far.
Right.
But I don't know that, from what he's sharing with me, sweetheart, it wasn't that anybody necessarily missed that he had a mental health issue or an emotional health issue, as I prefer to call it. It was something that came in and out. It wasn't something that was obvious, that was there every second of every day. So if that's any comfort to you, he's sharing with me that he loves you. He's given me a beautiful big bunch of pink roses to give you, and he's telling me that your mum's there with him, and she seems, I'm going to say, at peace now. There must have been a lot of pain or trauma around her before she passed, was there?
A lot of pain. Yeah.
Yeah, well, she's telling me now she's not in pain, she's at peace, and she's got a grandson with her, and she's making him behave himself.
Thank you.
Thank you, sweetie. She always had a soft spot for him, so she just wants you to know that they see everything that's going on, they love you and they miss you, but, you know, he didn't do it on purpose. He didn't do it to hurt you. And I hope you find some comfort in that, Loretta.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome, sweetie. We're going to talk with Christina in Barrie in Ontario in Canada. Are you there, Christina?
Hi, Amanda.
Hi, Christina. What a pretty name.
Great to hear from you. Sorry, what did you ask?
Do you have a question I can work with, please, Christina?
Yes, I was wondering what you see in terms of my career further, just because I recently finished school, and I'm just wondering if you see any changes or in that aspect, and maybe in life in general as well. Like maybe
Okay,
if there's
Christina.
a move or something like that.
All right. Well, congratulations from finishing school. That's a big milestone, and particularly during this COVID time, nothing has been easy there. So you really want to give yourself a pat on the back and a gold star and a job well done. Look, sweetie, I do see an opportunity coming up for what we'd call the dream job, but I don't think it's quite just yet. I'm not seeing the proper job, the real job, the one that you've studied for till about February, March next year. Now, I know we're only in October and, you know, you need, you know, money to survive in between. But I'm seeing sort of what I'd term as a fill-in job now, you know, something to just sort of tide you over while you give yourself the opportunity to look for what it is that you really want. Instead of just jumping into the first thing that might come along. You've spent all this time and money getting yourself ready for the job. Well, let's now look for the right job. So when it does happen, and as I said, you know, the interview might be February, don't start till March, you'll know it's close to home. It's probably a little bit higher position than what you anticipated you could get as a start-off position after doing this study. So this is all good. Okay. And the fact is that they seem to see the potential in what you've been able to achieve in the study, and the fact that they're not necessarily looking for somebody that's got, you know, on-the-ground experience. They're looking for somebody that they can mould into their way of their company, of the way things are done, but you need to have the qualifications to be able to take the role. So I feel very comfortable with that. It's close to home. Now, I know you asked about whether or not you were going to make a move. I do feel that there will be a move for them. So it'll be close to where your new home is. So are you thinking of moving out of the area that you're in at the moment, Christina?
I was actually wondering, I'm considering moving provinces, and I'm wondering if that's a good idea.
Yeah, no, I do think it's a good idea. I think, you know, you've spent enough time working towards what your goal is as far as work. So we need to look at, you know, with the next move, where is going to be the best opportunities for jobs that suit the, you know, the amount of money and time I've invested into study, but also an area that you want to live, somewhere where you feel comfortable as an individual. And I didn't feel it was where you were currently living now. To me, that was sort of like, well, I had to be here to achieve this. Now I've got the opportunity to look around and see what really best suits me. And that's why I think it's good that you've got this little window of time to sort out where it is that you want to go. Look, I'm never really any good on locations. All I can say, if you're looking at it from the southern hemisphere where I am to where you are on a map, I want to see you go a little bit east. Would that take you closer to the water than where you are now?
Closer to the water you said water?
Yes, water. They didn't necessarily show me whether it was seawater or river water, but I could see water or some connection to water to where you were going.
Yeah.
And to me it was to the east, if we were looking at the map with Australia being at the bottom. You know, it was direct sort of east. And I felt really excited about that. Now, is there no one special in your life at the moment, Christina, as far as a love interest?
No, that's my other question. And
because that was
I'm worried about it, to be honest.
No, don't worry about it. Your job has been getting your study done. You've achieved that. You've done really well with that. Now you give yourself a little bit of a breather. Take a job that'll tide you over till, you know, the end of the year or to the early part of the new year. That'll give you time to sort of work out where it is you want to relocate to. And, you know, where's the best job prospects for the relocation as well. And once you've made the move, you've got the new job, I don't think it'll be very long after that you're going to meet Mr. Wonderful. He sort of breezes into the equation then too. So let's say you've moved in sort of, say, late January, early February. You've landed the job come starts March. You found some fill-in work in the meantime. I think we can safely say April, May, June, somewhere in that time frame, you're going to meet this tall, dark-headed, gorgeous man with the twinkly brown eyes who also has moved to the same location. So it's really interesting because your lines have been very parallel. He's moved there to, to start off a new career, not that long ago finished study, and, is sort of feeling a little bit like a fish out of water in a new environment as well. Doesn't work at the same company that you're working in, but he works not far from you. So this to me looks like it's a fairly busy place that you're going to, because I'm seeing sort of like tall buildings. So it's got to have some sort of city centre vibe as well. And I think you're going to be living within walking distance of where you're going to be working. It's really lovely. But it seems very leafy, very pretty. There seems to be, quite a nice young vibe there, but also a feeling of stability. So I think the two of you are going to have a great time there. And there seems to be lots of outings. Seems to be a lot of activity that goes on in parks and events in the local community. They seem to be very community orientated, which is lovely. So I hope that's helped you, Christine. You're very welcome, sweetie.
Thank you so much.
That was Christina in Canada. So it's interesting how people's lives are starting to sort of unfold and move forward now that we're coming out of these COVID times. And it's nice to see that romance is still on the horizon for people. And it's not always just the young at heart too. The last week I've had plenty of messages from people that I've known for a very long time over the years that have moved into romances in the more mature state of life. So isn't that wonderful? So for those of you that are old enough to remember it like me, I've been listening to Hot August Night this week by Neil Diamond, the 1972 version on YouTube, and it's been absolutely fantastic to take that trip down memory lane. I've been a very big Neil Diamond fan for a very, very long time, and I've actually seen him a couple of times in concert. But that was always one of my favourite albums, and I wore a few out, and I've worn a few CDs out. And it's nice to go back and to listen to that sort of very inspirational music, which is nearly 50 years old, I might say, but it's very much for today as well. So I'll leave you with that thought. Get Neil Diamond out, 1972 version of Hot August Night. Until next week, bye for now.